What you're about to hear is free speech, protected under the First Amendment. This is protest, not violence. This is art, not incitement. It condemns terrorism. It does not call for it. NSPM-7 may try to brand beliefs as dangerous, but dissent is not terrorism. Free speech is not a crime. My words are fire, yes, but fire of memory, fire of truth, fire that refuses to bow. Chokma. My name is Changing Winds, and before anything else, I want to be clear about what I stand for. I don't support hate. I don't support racism. I don't support division. My fire is for truth, for healing, and for connection. My art and my words are born from struggle, survival, and memory, not to tear people down, but to lift people up. Sometimes I share songs or stories that mean something personal to me, even if they hit others differently. But here, everything I share is part of my story, my survival, and my voice. This space is for honesty, for lifting each other, for keeping the fire alive together. If you're here, you matter. You're part of the circle. Let's rise together. Well, you clicked on one of Ilanchi Mali's videos. Great. Now here's the question. Are you going to watch it, share it, like it? Get pissed and cuss me out in the comments. Just make sure it's at least 7 words minimum. Are you going to support the stories? Links to do that are down below. Just don't scroll in silence. Or do scroll in silence. I really don't give a damn, because sometimes silence is louder than words. NSPM-7. When free speech is treated as a crime, I read the memorandum and I felt the weight of its ink. Not protection, not law. A sharpened blade pressed into paper, designed to bleed belief dry, to cage the conscience of a people who refuse to kneel. They call it NSPM-7. They dress it in patriotism, parade it as safety, wave it like a holy banner. But it is not scripture. It is surveillance. It is suspicion codified. A blacklist disguised as justice, not for bombs, not for bullets, but for breath, for the crime of refusing to worship at their altar of obedience. They make my very heartbeat an indicator of terrorism, anti-capitalist, anti-Christian, anti-American. 3 indictments for the price of 1. Not actions, but thoughts. Not violence, but dissent. My mind itself declared contraband. And they justify it with corpses. They drag Charlie Kirk's death like a flag-draped shield, raise it as proof that every critic is a killer. But where was that outrage when the Capitol burned with crosses? Where was it when the gallows were built in the shadow of democracy? They whisper of Antifa cells, of sleeper plots, of Iran under the bed. Fear, fear, fear. The bedtime story of the empire, but the only cells I see are cages packed with brown children. The only plots I see are cemeteries filled by white rifles that never get called terrorism. They lie with labels. They call anti-capitalist violent. They call atheist godless. They call anti-American traitor. But the real traitors draped themselves in flags, sang hymns while swinging fists, and carried scripture into slaughter. This memorandum is not about violence. It is about memory. It is about silencing the mouths that remind America of its crimes. It is about gagging the witness, outlawing the mirror, making the reflection itself a felony. You twist anti-fascism into proof of terror because you cannot bear the truth. We see you. We see your empire for what it is. Bloated, blood-soaked, the corpse kept upright by propaganda and bayonets. You do not fear bombs. You do not fear blood. You fear the citizen who will not bow, the poet who will not soften, the dissenter who says your empire is naked and keeps saying it until the crowd finally looks. So you write your blacklist. You highlight our names in red. You turn philosophy into indicia. You call belief itself a precursor to crime. This is dictatorship by memorandum. This is a noose made of paragraphs. This is tyranny in the font of the Federal Register. Still I speak, still I burn, still I lift my voice like a torch in the storm. You will not gag me with your definitions. You will not smother me with your lies. If dissent is a fire, then know this: I was born to burn. Call me anti-capitalist. I have watched the poor devoured, watched mothers choose between bread and medicine, watched billionaires launch rockets while children starve in the streets below. If hating that system makes me dangerous, then I accept the charge. Call me anti-Christian. I have seen pulpits turned to weapons, preachers fattened on fear, sanctuaries where abuse was baptized and faith was weaponized for profit. If refusing to kneel at that altar makes me suspect, then suspect me forever. Call me anti-American. I have seen treaties broken in smoke, reservations carved like open wounds, workers crushed under boot and ledger. I have seen America feed on itself, smiling as it devours the very people it swore to protect. And yet you call me dangerous, not for what I've done, but for what I refuse to forget. Not for crimes of blood, but for crimes of memory I will not forget. And that makes me guilty. Real Danger wore tactical gear in Buffalo. Real Danger wrote manifestos in El Paso. Real Danger stormed the Capitol with flags, with guns, with prayers of conquest on their tongues. You call that patriotism. You call that misunderstood. But me, a poet with fire in my mouth, a citizen with no weapon but truth. I am the terrorist. I am the threat. I am the one who must be erased. This is not justice. This is theater, a stage where the villain writes the script and casts the truth as criminal. This is not democracy. This is empire draped in stars and stripes. And yet I am not afraid. I am not your terrorist. I am your indictment. I am your record. I am your reckoning. You cannot erase the evidence of my voice. You want silence. Here is my roar. You want obedience. Here is my defiance. You want a people who kneel. Here is one who stands. Every word I speak is testimony. Every stanza I spit is evidence. Evidence that I lived free, that I named what I saw, that I stood when you demanded I crawl. Every breath I take is resistance. Every scar is a record. Every refusal is a prophecy. You can raid my home, burn my art, brand my conscience, but the fire will outlive you. Let the record show I resisted, I refused, I remained. If my name is an indicator, then let it shine as proof that I would not bow. And when history asks who the terrorists were, it will not spell my name, it will spell yours. It will carve it in shame and infamy in the long roll call of empires who thought they could outlaw truth. Do not twist it. We are not the problem. The real poison festers at the edges. The far right that cloaks white rage in scripture and flag. The far left that confuses fire for justice and would rather burn the house than mend it. Two extremes clawing at the same wound, both drunk on power, both blind to consequence. But us, we are the spine, the center, the ones who rise for work when the cameras are off, who bury our dead and still keep going, who stitch this torn country together while zealots rip it apart. We are the weight that holds America upright, and without us, it collapses. Disclaimer: this work is a piece of protest art and spoken word. It does not endorse or incite violence. It is protected expression under the First Amendment, created to critique government policy, authoritarianism, and threats to free speech. The ideas here are symbolic, artistic, and intended only as commentary. Here's how you can support these stories. not just by liking, subscribing, or sharing, though that always helps. I don't like asking for financial support, but I have to be real. Each video takes me 10 to 20 hours writing, voiceover, editing, and creating the images. I put in the work because I believe these words matter. If you want to see more of this content, here's how you can help keep it going. Patreon, patreon.com, Changing Winds Podcast, Ko-fi, ko-fi.com, Changing Winds Podcast, Cash App, $ Changing Winds Podcast, Venmo, @Changing Winds Podcast. Every contribution helps keep the fire alive. One planet, one family, one home.